Well, this weekend marks 3 years since rioters stormed the U.S. Capitol in an effort to prevent the 2020 presidential election results from being certified. President Biden will mark the event by delivering a speech in Pennsylvania Saturday near a historic Revolutionary War site. He will also use the opportunity to frame his 2024 re-election campaign as a fight for democracy. Meanwhile, former President Donald Trump's re-election campaign says it's Biden who is the real threat. In a memo yesterday, his team wrote, quote, "Joe Biden and his allies are a real and compelling threat to our democracy. In fact, in a way never seen before in our history, they are waging a war against it." CBS News chief White House correspondent Nancy Cordes is joining us now with more. It's the "I know you are, but what am I?" Political strategy, I get. I don't know. What more do we know about President Biden's speech on Saturday to mark 3 years since the January 6th attack on the Capitol? And how does he plan to integrate this into his re-election program? I think it's quite campaign rather. I think it's quite interesting because he has been leaning into sort of tried and true, the economy, jobs. That doesn't seem to be working for him, so perhaps what we're seeing is a pivot that he thinks will be more impactful.
Right, and democracy is an issue that he has returned to again and again throughout the course of his presidency. He has made sure to mark this dark day in history, the insurrection, every single year on January 6th. This time he's going to be at Valley Forge in Pennsylvania, and as every American school child is taught, this is a spot where the first U.S. president, George Washington, before he was president, when he was commanding troops in the Revolutionary War, would station those troops in a war that was eventually successful in winning the independence and the birth of this country. And so it is no accident that President Biden is traveling there to give this speech on democracy this weekend. He marked past anniversaries with speeches at the Liberty Bell in Philadelphia and at the U.S. Capitol where this insurrection took place. And it really hones in, as you pointed out, Anne-Marie, on what is going to be a central focus, a central theme of his re-election bid, which is the fight for democracy. In fact, one of his campaign advisors said yesterday in a background call that we are running a campaign like the fate of democracy depends on it, because it does. They argue that this is more than some abstract notion, that another term with President Trump in the Oval Office would mean more chipping away at people's freedoms, particularly when it comes to health care, abortion rights. Former President Trump has made it very clear how he feels about voting rights. They're highlighting the fact that he has said that he wants to be some kind of temporary dictator so that he can make changes on immigration. And so on Saturday, what you'll see is President Biden weaving this all into a campaign focus and saying that there's a real choice here between these two candidates when it comes to the issue of democracy.
And Nancy, let's talk about the significance of the president giving this speech at Valley Forge. For those who are history buffs and fans of American history, of course, the famous battle there at Valley Forge that happened in the third year of the Revolutionary War, a major victory for the Continental Army.
Right, absolutely. I mean, they're arguing that democracy is the foundation of this nation and that it has been fought for in the past and needs to be fought for again, that it is not guaranteed. And President Biden has made the case, even before they were really focused full time on re-election, the way they are now, that it is finally an election year 2024, that the former president had tried to chip away at some of these rights, and that he might try to do so again if he gets back to the Oval Office. So I anticipate this won't be the last time that you see the President of the United States using one of these revered sites as a backdrop as he tries to make the case, as he has globally, that this is a fight between democracy and autocracy, and highlighting some of the more troubling statements that Trump has made recently as he praises dictators around the world, as he talks about wanting to be a dictator for a day himself if reelected, and making the case that the stakes are very high in 2024.
I wonder, Nancy, if in choosing Valley Forge, because I sort of misspoke a bit when I suggested that there was a battle there. The battle was against the ravages of disease and winter that happened, and it sort of helped to strengthen the cohesion of the Continental Army, because what we often talk about is how that Continental Army persevered under these dire conditions, under this horrible, horrible winter. As a little kid, I remember reading about the Continental Army walking without boots in the snow, leaving blood drops in the snow, right? So I wonder if there's the significance there of what the message that the president is trying to send in choosing that location.
I wouldn't be surprised if some of that history gets woven into the speech this weekend, again, hammering home the notion that democracy isn't something that anyone can take for granted, that it has been fought for in the past and will have to be fought for again. This is a president who many supporters have wanted for him to go even harder after Donald Trump on these issues. Yes, he'll make mention of it if asked. Yes, he gives a speech from time to time. But there are a lot of Democrats who believe that he really needs to make this front and center in his campaign, even though the Republican primary is still playing out and will continue to play out for several months. We haven't even hit the Iowa caucuses yet. But if you look at the polls, it's pretty clear who his general election opponent is likely to be. And there are a lot of Democrats who feel that he needs to engage in this fight now and make it clear to Democratic voters, many of whom may not be paying all that much attention right now because there isn't much of a Democratic primary going on. Make it clear to some of the constituencies that maybe have strayed a little bit, whose support has dropped off in the polls, that the party and that this president need them now more than ever, and will continue to do so throughout 2024.
Yeah, good point. Nancy Cordes, Happy New Year. It's good to see you.
It's great to see you too, Vlad. Good to be back.
Thank you very much. Yeah, good to see you.